Welcome to Cancer 101. Almost everyone these days gets their information from the internet, right? That's the first place you go. And you get on there and you start doing a general World Wide Web search and you find lots of information on, I don't know, bladder cancer. And the question is, how do you know that the information is reliable? Who knows, the Russians might have started a disinformation campaign for the best treatment options for stage 2 bladder cancer. You never know. It could happen. Then maybe you go to YouTube. And on YouTube, you find lots of information, a lot of it that doesn't apply to you, and maybe a number of videos that are a bit suspect, just like you found when you read written information on the general internet. So the question becomes, in such a critical area where you're talking about your health and perhaps even, this is a situation, it's a matter of life and death, which it occasionally can be in terms of, selecting the best treatment option for your cancer situation. How do you know? How can you be assured that the information you're getting is really reasonable, valid information backed up by years of scientific study? One thing you'll see as you search the internet are a number of websites and YouTube videos that are made by comprehensive cancer centers. These are centers that are designated by the National Cancer Institute, like the Fred Hutchinson Center in Seattle, Washington, or Roswell Park in Buffalo, New York's Sloan Kettering, MD Anderson in Texas. So these are very large, well-known cancer hospitals, and they happen to be the ones I mentioned, designated by the National Cancer Institute as comprehensive cancer centers. So if you're seeing a video from them, you can feel pretty confident. Usually they'll display who they are very clearly. The videos will be very slickly produced. They'll do a very nice job, unlike, say, my simple home videos. And they'll often have a doctor in a white lab coat talking about cancer. The lab coat thing is kind of corny, but that's the way they do it. Sometimes the doctor will be dressed in a suit and tie. And usually when you see those kinds of videos, you can get a pretty confident feeling that what you're telling you should be reliable information. Still, in the back of your mind, as you search through all of this information on the internet, first of all, it's frustrating, and you kind of end up wishing, I wish there were one place I could go and find all of my cancer information and know 100% for sure that it's reliable. And that's what this video is about today, because there is such a place, and it's Cancer.gov. Cancer.gov. This is the US government's website from the National Cancer Institute, specifically on cancer. In the US government, we have the National Institutes of Health, and there are various institutes under that, the National Institutes of Health, and the largest one is the National Cancer Institute. And so their website is Cancer.gov, and there you can go and in one place get all the patient-level information you really need for your particular type of cancer. Let's say it's bladder cancer. You go there and you can read about staging and prognosis and what the best treatment options are, sort of a general discussion of treatment options, and then a more detailed discussion by stage 1 bladder cancer, stage 2 bladder cancer, and so forth. Also, there's often prevention information or screening information. There's a linked clinical trial, so you can search whatever clinical trials you want. Maybe you want to look for clinical trials within a couple hundred miles of you for your particular type and stage of cancer. You can do that right there. You can also call their information service, the Cancer Information Service, which is 800-422-6237, as I've mentioned many times in my videos. But this Cancer.gov website is a place you can go and sit there and just start reading. And what I would recommend is, let's say you're diagnosed with a non-small cell lung cancer or breast cancer or bladder cancer, whatever it happens to be. Go there, start with the patient, find your type of cancer, say bladder, and just start reading the entire patient information section on bladder cancer. Just that alone will bring you 50 to 70% of the way along to what you really need to know. Maybe even more, because some people only want a limited amount of information. But if you want to get into the details, if you want to know more, then you simply select the health professional version of the statement on bladder cancer. And in there, you'll get a very detailed discussion with all the citations. If you want to look up the clinical trials that they're referring to and the studies that they've done and why they're saying what they're saying, why for a stage 2 bladder cancer this or that or the other thing is the best treatment option. They're not just saying that, they're basing it on literally decades of clinical trials and scientific research. Another related thing you can do as a result of having looked at the Cancer.gov website for your particular cancer is you can get, let's call it a third opinion. And the third opinion is you're reading the National Cancer Institute's information on the best treatment options, right? This is the largest cancer research organization in the world. It's completely reliable and trustworthy information. There's nothing shady about it like you would if you're just sort of blindly stumbling around on the internet looking for information. I call it a third opinion because essentially what you're doing is you're reading what the National Cancer Institute, with all their tremendous resources, has summarized as this is the best cancer treatment for a person in your situation. That'll do two things. One is it'll back up what the doctor has already told you. Typically the doctor is going to follow pretty standard recommendations, and the doctor is probably following essentially what the National Cancer Institute is recommending. And so that'll make you feel more confident that, oh, okay, I'm getting the best standard treatment of care as, because it matches with what the National Cancer Institute says. Another situation might be, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe the doctor's saying, well, you don't need just surgery alone. We want to add some chemotherapy after because we think it will increase your longevity, your overall survival rate or your 5-year survival by 5 or 10% or 30% or whatever it happens to be. And so you read about the NCI saying maybe surgery only. Bring that in, print it out, bring it into the doctor and say, hey doc, the NCI says for stage 2 such and such cancer, you should do surgery only. An example would be colon cancer, okay? And the doctor will say maybe, well, that's true. Do you remember we talked before about whether we should do chemo or not? And my thinking is that you have a sort of a particularly aggressive form of colon cancer, plus you have a number of other factors that make your prognosis a little bit worse than the average patient. And so I was thinking that maybe we can improve your results, improve your outcome by adding the chemotherapy, something like that. But the main point is you'll have a point of discussion with the doctor. It's not just you saying it, it's the National Cancer Institute saying it, and the doctor is likely to then respond in a thoughtful way and explain his or her thinking about why their recommendation is somewhat different than the National Cancer Institute's. So in the end, one of the things you're looking for in this cancer experience is a bit of calmness, a bit of assurance, a bit of a feeling that people are on your side and you're getting the best treatment possible. And one way to do that is to learn as much as you can. And one of the best places to do that is at Cancer.gov, Cancer.gov. I strongly recommend you go there, read the entire patient section, and if you can get through the entire health professional section, read that also. I hope this is helpful. See you in the next video.